So, I'm here to talk about a process I call awakening through sexuality. It's not about having sexuality with other people, it's our relationship with ourself and our own sexual energy. Most people don't know this, but source energy or flow energy or what we call orgone energy in this world, that's a term that's been coined by a gentleman named Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich basically studied a lot of stuff about sexuality, and he basically showed how sexuality has been twisted and damaged our psyche, basically because of its shamedness, etc. He actually was a psychologist that was at the time of Freud. He was a student of Freud, and he went on to study sexuality and its impacts on people. He basically did a study, it's very famous, where he studied prison inmates and people in psychological institutes, and he basically was able to determine that people that did not have healthy sexuality or orgasmicness in their life were like 100 times more likely to be prisoners or in a psychotic ward or psychological institute. He basically went on, and there's hundreds and hundreds of books you can go, it's very dry reading, but you can go and read how he basically could, he actually went on to create what he called archetypes, and it was like body shapes that people had. I'm considered, what's in his determination, something called an oral. That means you had mummy issues, but it's a person that has kind of a pear-shaped body. They have wide hips, big tummy, etc., but they suffered from wounding from mother, or not breastfeeding, or other things. There was other ones called there's a whole bunch, like a psychopath. Have you ever met people that basically have an indented chest? It's like they're holding the back of their chest back, and basically you can look at the outside of people, and he was actually able to determine what kind of psychological problems they had, what kind of sexual problems they had, etc. But the biggest study that he ever did was what he called orgone energy. He studied and found out in his other study about the prisoners and people in psychological institutes that people that did not have healthy orgasm in their life, or incomplete orgasm he called it, were much more likely to have a psychological or prisoner type problem. So he went on to study it further, and he basically said that our orgasmic energy is also orgone energy, O-R-gone, G-O-N-E. That's, you'll see pyramids that are made, orgone pyramids, etc. He basically discovered ways that could heal people using source flow energy. And he basically said we channel that source flow energy during our orgasmicness, during our pleasure. So the awakening through sexuality stuff I talk about is talking about getting a healthy relationship with ourselves for our sexual energy, becoming grounded, being in our body, using our breath to move the energy to basically heal and transform our body. Now, most people don't know this, but the biggest story in the Bible, the Mary and Joseph having Jesus, and then Jesus meeting Mary Magdalene, etc., is one of very sacred sexuality stuff. In the Bible, there, at the time of that Jesus existed, there was a place called the Temple of Isis. It was a hospital for energy. Basically, they didn't have medicine back then. People were not having the same illnesses, energy problems, etc. But they basically called the women that worked in the Temple of Isis, they messed it up in the Bible to shame women, but they called them prostitutes. So Mary Magdalene in the Bible, which is the Bible story, she met Jesus at the well. This isn't all about Bible or anything, but she basically was a temple priestess. So temple priestesses at that time wore a bangle around their wrist. It was kind of shaped like a snake, but it was not of an evil nature. It was the knowledge of the Kundalini energies. Kundalini energies are our sexual energy. They're two snakes. If you study Kundalini, there's two snakes kind of in our pelvis of energy, and basically, uh, uh, during arousal, etc., these snakes will coil up all the way up our central channel or our spine, all the way to our head, and create a healing chalice. Basically, the snakes come above our pineal gland, and basically at the point of our orgasmicness, they will release a sacred two liquids that creates what they call holy chrism or Christ consciousness. Basically, it basically will awaken us and change us and transform us. These were all things that were known at the time of the Temple of Isis. The other one I was going to mention is the Virgin Mary, or Mother Mary, was actually a high priestess in the Temple of Isis. That's why she could make a virgin birth. She was able to channel source energy from God and basically create a child within herself. So this is where I talked about our sexual energy as our creation energy. It has the ability of a man and a woman joining together for the sperm and the egg to come together, and all this energy of that pleasure of two people sharing together, it creates this huge reaction to create a child, create a new life in this world. Now, there are other things that are spoke of in this world. You may have heard the term sex magic, magick. That's a term from the Temple of Isis as well. It was using our passion energy and our source energy to basically create. It's basically funneling all our source energy, all our God flow energy into the creation of a business, etc. There is a book called Think and Grow Rich. It's actually been mangled up, but Think and Grow Rich at its heart talked about sex magic. It talked about using your sexual energy or orgasmicness to basically create businesses, create abundance, create flow in your world. Now, the flip side we also have to also understand is there's physiological stuff that happens in our body during our expression of our sexuality. Can you imagine you don't have to go and get a pill to get serotonin, oxytocin to cure your depression? If we had healthy sexuality in our life and found a partner that we had consensual, agreed to sexuality, and that does not have to involve marriage, because that's shamed as well. There's many people that are doing this in high school and exploring, and how many divorces we're having or whatever. There's no guarantee of healthiness in the act of marriage, but the fact that our sexuality has been repressed and we're no longer getting these dopamines naturally, these serotonins naturally, these oxytocins naturally, which regulate our body, clean our nervous system. The act of orgasmicness also cleans our central channel, which is the center of our chakras, and it basically heals and resets everything. It cleans out all our anger, our frustration. When you're having a bad day, the best thing that you can ever do without picking up any pills or anything of the sort is to use pleasure to serve yourself. And that doesn't mean go find somebody to hook up with or whatever. What if you did this for yourself and you served your own needs first before you ever tried to connect with someone else or merge fields or other things? And there's a lot of talk about being sexual that hello to whoever's saying hello. It's so small on the screen. So, oh, she's leaving. Well, some people can't take the truth, but it's quite funny to understand how much trigger something that talking about sexuality will bring to people. And it's kind of interesting to see why sexuality has been shamed, because the thing that can bring us our healing, that has been known to spontaneously awaken us, etc., has been turned into prostitution or shamefulness, and it's crazy. So I speak about this because it's a truth that's buried, and there's lots of other people it's just so hilarious, the comments that people come up with. I'm talking with myself. There's been many people showing up, but I trigger people because I'm talking about a truth that nobody wants to to accept. And I I love to trigger people about talking about something. If we had a whole bunch more pleasure in our life, it would be so much better than playing this game with people of feeling ashamed about ourselves, feeling unnatural in our sexuality and our pleasure, and our world would change radically and drastically. So, all I'm saying is we are awakening ourselves, and people are drawn like flies, and then they want to shit on things, and you may as well go to another channel if you don't think anybody cares, because you're lost as far as I'm concerned. I'm not having a fight with people over truth. So, but it's crazy. I've seen more crackpots show up in the last 5 minutes by just using the term awakening through sexuality than I've seen in a very long time. So I will tell you the truth is, if we find our sacred pleasure with ourselves, our lives will change. That's all I can say. And it's not about having to find somebody, a partner or whatever. Once you're regulated in your nervous system and you're happy and you're calm in your nervous system, everything changes. And that's all I'm going to say. I love you all. And I appreciate that some people don't agree, but it's a truth that triggers people, and the crazy comments that you see are triggered people. So have a good day. Love you all. Bye.